going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the new content that was discovered for MW3 Zombies, some bonus features that may be dropping, plus even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and also as a reminder, there's plenty of brand new coverage going up over on detonated.com, expanding on all the content you're seeing here on the channel, just in the form of articles on the website for those that prefer it, and plenty of tweets every hour on Detonated's Twitter. In the background, we got some Red Worm gameplay here in MWZ, and I'm not sure if anybody out there actually tested this, but we went ahead and tried the Blood Burner against the Red Worm, and you'll see the results here in this gameplay. Still though, it's helpful to have the Blood Burner to take care of all the hordes that do spawn in while you're taking on the boss. It was a pretty clean run in one of the spawns that I actually haven't seen yet for the Red Worm, which is right here in the stadium. I've always gotten the other spawn points that you guys have probably seen in some other videos of mine. But speaking of the Blood Burner, there is a schematic being rumored right now for the Blood Burner bike, and apparently that's dropping in Season 2. Now I'd be curious to know how they're going to add that schematic in, and what happens when you use that schematic. Do you just pop it and the Blood Burner just appears right in front of you, or do you pop it and then it just shows you a spawn point on the TAC map? Really curious exactly how that is going to work. But for those out there wondering about the VR11 Wonder Weapon and whether or not we're going to end up getting a schematic for that one, I'd say that's probably a guarantee. Even though the base game didn't launch with a schematic for the Scorcher, they ended up adding that in during the first seasonal update. So I do think with every major title update or every new season, possibly even mid-season, there's a huge chance that new schematics do get added in, especially for all the available Wonder Weapons. And yeah, I'm sure they'll end up adding in some crazy new task or Easter egg quest that will provide us with a reward rift that'll end up having a bunch of new plans for various unlockables that are here in MWZ. Now tonight's video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most complete vehicle combat experience ever developed. You can use more than 2,000 tanks, helicopters, ships, and planes in real PvP battles. Every vehicle is incredibly detailed down to their individual parts, which offers a real immersive gameplay experience. War Thunder is free to play on PlayStation, Xbox, and even PC. If you're looking for a fast action-packed match or even something tactical that's rooted in realism, then War Thunder has you covered with intense battles for all playstyles. Now for those who love customization in their games, won't be disappointed with War Thunder, as there's hundreds of camouflages and historical markings you can place anywhere on your vehicles. You can even equip 3D decorators like bushes and equipment. War Thunder doesn't require any extra pilot hardware, as you can fly any aircraft using just a mouse and keyboard thanks to the intuitive mouse aim mode, or you can choose to use a controller. The game offers incredible detail in 4K resolution with some of the most authentic sound effects and music that create an atmosphere you likely haven't seen. I'm personally blown away by the amount of action I've seen in game, which had no impact on the game's performance. Typically, if there's too much going on in certain games, you'll notice stability issues, but War Thunder honestly runs smooth as butter. But be sure to check out War Thunder for free on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC with a special link down below in the video's description or the pinned comment. And don't forget that new players, as well as those who haven't played in the last 6 months, can claim a large bonus pack using my link, which grants multiple premium vehicles, a premium account, exclusive 3D decorators for vehicles, and even more for a limited time. Now thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring tonight's video. Now what's crazy is that as of yesterday, this Twitter account started posting a bunch of new information about upcoming content in upcoming seasons, and this person went ahead and claimed that Electric Cherry is reportedly coming back into the game itself. Now what's funny is that Mule previously leaked out a good couple of weeks ago, and that was the one perk that I claimed was a bit redundant, since all you really have to do is give MWZ a DMZ-like update, and we'll be talking more about DMZ features that may be coming to MWZ. I'll be covering that in a separate video, but I did mention that Mule seems redundant when all you have to really do is add in a backpack type of update allowing you to hold a third weapon, whether that's an upgrade to the current backpack, whether that's a special new backpack that you can find around the environment. I'd rather see that instead of Mule Kick, but Electric Cherry is definitely a classic, one of my all-time favorite perks, so I'm glad that that is at least rumored. Again, not confirmed by the studio by any means, so don't get your hopes up for it, but considering data miners did find references to it, probably means that it is going to be dropping at some point in a future season. But can't forget about the collector's box over at Walmart that does give us a glimpse of what looks like Widow's Wine that may be dropping at some point soon. That's also a perk that we just haven't seen in quite a while. It was last seen in BO3. We had Winter's Wail inside of BO4, which was kind of similar to that. I would take either version of that perk back here in MWZ. That would be very useful. So I think with the fact that we have 3 perks kind of up in the air right now that may be dropping, it's very likely that we'll at least get one new perk with every brand new season. Didn't get a new one here in Season 1, but I think moving forward there's a good chance that we get at least one every other season or one for the remaining seasons. Now as Detonated reported a couple of days ago on Twitter, we have icons that leaked out for Rainmaker and Carrie's 2 new Warlords coming to MWZ at some point soon. The usual Twitter data miners did go ahead and post images of these Warlords as of recently, and none of the leaks for future MW3 content updates have been taken down by Activision, so it looks like free reign to cover and report on them, either on Twitter or in articles, here in videos. So it looks like we're safe to go ahead and show these images here. But yeah, these are 2 new Warlords that are apparently coming at some point in the future. Also, can't forget that around the environment in MWZ, people have discovered key cards for these new Warlords, even though you can't really do anything with the key cards, right? The Warlords aren't in the game yet. I mean, the models for these characters reportedly also aren't in the game, so it's weird that the icons for them actually are, and it's unclear when they'll be added in, but the usual leakers have also claimed that weapon cases will be dropped by Warlords at some point in the future. That's just a rumor, but I think that would be really cool if that DMZ feature does come back, where, yeah, weapon case tied to a specific boss on a certain map. That would be absolutely incredible, and I think that would definitely increase replayability in terms of the fortresses, right? Giving you a reason to go to them, to fight that Warlord, aside from the one act mission that asks you to do so. But then it begs the question, right? How many Warlord updates are we going to end up getting in future seasons? Because as of now, some other bosses were discovered known as Chemist, Shield Maiden, and Tech Maestro. So with right now the 6 total Warlords that have leaked out, I'm going to guess that since we have Dokkaebi coming in Season 1 Reloaded, those other 5 I mentioned could be for the other 5 seasons. So are we going to end up seeing 1 new Warlord per season? That's probably the case. I think it's possible we even get 1 big update in Season 2 that overhauls how fortresses work. Maybe they add in multiple Warlords to 1 fortress, although unlikely. They could even just add multiple fortresses around all of Urzikstan, have like 3 total on the giant tech map, or maybe we're just set to have 1 new Warlord per season over the next couple of seasons, and they just, you know, swap out who the boss is with the start of every new season. I mean, it's also possible that some of these Warlords are not even for Urzikstan, but other maps that end up getting zombified at some point in 2024, whether it's Fortune's Keep, whether it's Rebirth, whether it's another map entirely. Totally plausible, but I don't think any of these Warlords will be found in the Dark Ether. They will certainly be found on a normal map like Urzikstan, or another one like Fortune's or Rebirth, you know, not in the Dark Ether, but on the map that you spawn in on. But I did mention Dokkaebi, and I went over Dokkaebi in a previous video. Not much information was provided in the recent Season 1 blog post, but that is, as of now, the only piece of content we know is coming in Season 1 Reloaded, and it's unclear if she replaces the Legacy Warlord over in our current Urzikstan fortress, or if they're adding in a separate fortress somewhere else on the map. But voice lines did leak out for her, as I covered in a recent zombie video, and the voice lines do suggest that she'll be calling in a drone swarm on us. She has UAVs, and she just insults us a little bit as we go ahead and enter the fortress. She talks to us quite a bit, so I won't play the voice lines on screen, but the real question that I know Fajardi was even asking on the recent podcast is whether or not she's just going to be a Warlord Fortress update that we get right when the Season 1 Reloaded update drops, or is this tied to some additional Act 4 missions, right? And we'll talk about Act 5 in a second, because that is a thing now, but I find it unlikely that we're just going to have new acts added in every season that only have 1 story mission and nothing else to that. I think it makes total sense that the mid-season 1 update adds in a decent amount of Act 4 missions that take place after the initial story one, and then maybe the final mission of Act 4 is actually taking out Dokkaebi for whatever reason. That would make a lot more sense, and I think would also give Act 4 some more content, right? There were some folks out there confused with the fact that we have an Act 4, but it's just 1 story mission. I know it's odd, but maybe Act 4's additional missions do require you to do things in the Dark Ether, and the beginning of Season 1 got us familiar with the Dark Ether. Now we know everything about it. We know how to get into it with the story mission. We know how to get into it outside of the story mission, and we even have the hardcore Elder Sigil version of the Dark Ether. Now that we've done all that, maybe that prepared us for what could be a bunch of missions we have to do while inside there with Season 1 Reloaded, and then the final mission will be going back to Urzikstan to face Dokkaebi. Now the leaker that I just brought up from this Twitter page has also claimed that Season 2 is bringing forth an Act 5 and new enemy types. So take it all with a grain of salt, of course, as I say with any leaks about Call of Duty or any other game, but with that, I would certainly say that supports the theory a lot better that Season 1 Reloaded is probably adding in more Act 4 missions, unless for whatever reason there's an odd plan to say Act 4 is only 1 story mission, then Act 5 releases with actual missions, or could also drop with just 1 story mission. Just odd in comparison to how Acts 1 through 3 worked, with a good list of like, what, 8 to 11 missions before a story one. It'd be interesting to see how they change up the Act missions a little bit with future seasons, but I would say if there's going to be an Act 5, it's got to be the last one for Urzikstan, right? Before we end up getting a new map, which I'm sure we're going to get at least 2 of them throughout 2024. There's no way we stay on the same map, Urzikstan, for the entire life cycle of Modern Warfare 3. I'd say Act 5 is probably the last one for Urzikstan, unless Act 5 is not even for Urzikstan and it's actually just for another map entirely that may be dropping in Season 2. We just don't know, but that has me intrigued to see what they're cooking up for the second season. Now, prior to the launch of Season 1, I made a video talking about all leaked content for MWZ and what hadn't even been confirmed yet, and luckily a lot of the content from that initial list did actually release already, but there's still a decent amount of content that hasn't even been talked about yet. So to point out some of the highlights here, we have new content including Exville streaks, which we know are real since an image did leak out just a couple of days ago showing us, I think, one of the Exville streaks, which is to spawn in with 500 essence. So that's probably coming in Season 2 if I had to guess. But there's also a self-revive kit bundle. Not sure how that's going to work, but then there's also power-ups like Undead Sight, which I'm going to guess is like the Gobblegum in plain sight. That's my guess on that. And then there's something called Looting Spree, another power-up, which I'm going to guess is kind of like a fire sale, but for things you can buy, not just the mystery box. So we're talking things you can buy at buy stations or maybe off the wall. That's probably what that power-up is, and who knows if they're even scrap. But there's going to be objectives like Civilian Rescue and a Defend Turret type objective there. So we'll see when those get added in, if they are going to. And apparently the helicopter drop activity from the original Outbreak is set to return, meaning that a helicopter with precious cargo will fly around the map every now and again. If you shoot it down, you get a bunch of crazy loot from the care package drop that was in the helicopter. So that's something that I thought would have been in MWZ by now, but I'm glad that they're bringing back some activities like that into MW3. Now I'm also crossing my fingers, this isn't leaked, but I'm crossing my fingers for a Ether Tool type of activity to also get added into MWZ. We just need more ways to upgrade our weapons. I know we get Ether Tools from reward rifts, but it'd be cool if the activity from Outbreak also comes back. We have to shoot X amount of crystals, and Death Perception obviously helps, and then upon shooting all the crystals, you get an Ether Tool upgrade for the weapon that you're holding. That would be phenomenal as well, just to get people decked out as quick as they can. But earlier in the video, I mentioned the possibility of seeing a new exclusion zone for MWZ, and I really believe Fortune's Keep is gonna get zombified, right? I can't really see this happening with Ashika or Vandal. I think the fact that those two maps had DMZ support is probably enough, and I'm sure one of those maps, if not both of them, are gonna get cycled out in the next year or whatnot. So I do think with Fortune's Keep coming back, probably in like Season 2 Reloaded, Season 3-ish, it's very possible that it is the next area that gets zombified. And yeah, we're not really getting any new Resurgence maps in 2024. It's just going to be Fortunes and Rebirth, which are returning. So I do think, aside from that one, Rebirth is definitely a top contender to get zombified. Everyone would love to see that and would be sort of a MW version of Blood of the Dead, considering the map layout and environment being so similar to what we know is Alcatraz in Call of Duty. So let's see what maps they end up adding into the MWZ mix. I just highly doubt we're going to stay on Urzikstan for the entire year, and I almost don't want them to spend too much time on a completely new environment or a new map, since I want all of that dev time and those resources to go into Black Ops 2024. But maybe they split up the work a little bit. They have a different team that works on that extra map that gets zombified, because Treyarch, of course, has expanded quite a bit in the last few years. I'm sure they have it all figured out, but let me know what other map you want to see in MWZ down below. Now, don't forget to download War Thunder for free for any platform. The special link in this video's description or the pinned comment, and you can also go ahead and claim a massive content pack, which I detailed on screen. With that being said, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring tonight's video. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on all the brand new content that was discovered for MWZ? How are you feeling about the bonus features that may be coming as soon as Season 2, plus everything else we discussed? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.